Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to this conversation. My name is Juliana Tattlebaum, and today I am in conversation with the heads of the WTO and FIFA here at WTO's Public Forum. It is my pleasure to lead this conversation. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala took office March 1st, 2021, becoming the 7th Director General of WTO, and as we're here at the WTO for this conversation, she's playing in front of a home crowd, you can say.
I'm not sure about that.
And Gianni Infantino was elected FIFA president in February 2016. He has centered his presidency on driving forward wide-ranging reforms at FIFA and push forward to make football be truly global. So to kick off this conversation, Dr. Ngozi, I would love to start with you. If you could share your thoughts broadly about how football brings nations together and can be a unifying force.
Well, thank you very much, Juliana, and it's a pleasure to have Gianni here today and to be with FIFA. I think what's fascinating to me about football, and first I must tell people to remember that sports and football, there's a lot of trade in services and trade in goods involved in football. We'll come back to that later. But what is amazing is we're at a time where global solidarity is fragile, where the world is suffering from so many crises, there's a lot of tension. And to find something that brings global solidarity, that can unify us across color, across race, across every divide, regions, it's pretty amazing. Everybody gets excited at football. It didn't come to me naturally, I have to say. But my youngest son is absolutely soccer mad, and he brought me along. So it's the ability to build this solidarity which we are so lacking that is fascinating to me.
Gianni, football is incredibly global already in its reach. Why or how much more global can football get, given how many countries it already is the main sport in?
Well, football is, of course, the world sport. Let me just say hello to everyone, of course, as well. It's a great pleasure to be here. Football is a global sport, but if you look at it a little bit, and especially we speak about the professional side of the sport that generates, of course, and becomes relevant for the global economy, we can see that the GDP of football globally is something around 268 billion US dollars, which is the size of Finland or Chile, so to say. The professional game of that and the revenues of the professional game are around 45 billion, but 70% of that is Europe, which means that there is a huge, huge potential in the rest of the world to still develop football, to give every talent everywhere in the world a real chance, to bring a lot of hope, but also a lot of work and opportunities to many people around the world. And what you were saying before, what Ngozi was saying before about uniting people, about bringing solidarity to the world, well, this is certainly one of our most important missions at FIFA.
In your view, why does football have this unifying power compared to other sports?
Football has a certain but sure magic. Look at this ball here in front of us. Is the official match ball of the World Cup in Qatar. We have the Men's World Cup starting in less than 2 months. The Women's World Cup next year in Australia and New Zealand. Fantastic competitions. We had Ngozi touching the ball, so at least one Nigerian can touch the ball because the team didn't qualify.
Don't go there.
For Italy, it's the same. For Italy, it's the same. So at least, you know, but the United States is there.
Yes, I didn't have the privilege of touching the ball.
You will have the team there kicking it, not only touching it. So I think it is. If you look at the figures of a World Cup as well, it is astonishing. We'll have 2 million people coming to Qatar for the World Cup. We had 23 million ticket requests. We actually started just now, I make a bit of promotion, with the last ticket sales phase, because we kept a few tickets for those who are last-minute comers. It started today at midday, so first come, first served. So go on the website and reserve your tickets. There are still a few left, but we'll have more than 3 million tickets sold, and 5 billion people, well more than half of the world population, watching the World Cup. So uniting really the world around the ball, which is magic, which brings people together because it is without boundaries, because it has no discriminations, because you just need to be good to play. Wherever you come from, whatever your nationality is, whatever your sexual orientation is, doesn't matter. You just have to play good. And even if you play bad, you can still play. So that's a great thing about it.
There's a place for everybody.
Absolutely.
We're going to come back to the World Cup because I know that many out there will be very curious to learn more about what's to come in the weeks ahead. But let me come back to you, Dr. Ngozi, because this is not the first time you are meeting Gianni this summer. You came together in New York. I believe it was the first time FIFA was on WTO ground, and you came together to forge this partnership. Tell us a little bit about this MOU that you've signed and the work that you're going to do with FIFA moving forward.
Well, I think we met even before that. We met at the Commonwealth, was it the Commonwealth or AU? Commonwealth
in Kigali.
Heads of Government meeting in Kigali. And that's where we first started chatting, and the idea of collaboration sort of began. And then we met in New York and took it to another level. Our teams were talking to each other. And the thought that football is a $200 billion economy, or more than $268 billion, and how could we harness the power of this to bring some benefits and opportunities to some of our members, because it's also about trade. Football is a big mover in terms of all kinds of goods and services. So that was, how do we harness the trade part of it? And we began to talk about this and the desire of FIFA to really try to help transform the lives of people in developing countries. Of course, the game does that and brings a lot of joy, but concretely, how do we do things that can create more jobs, add value to products? So the thought of working with the Cotton Four, as you know, we have a group of countries in Africa that we call the Cotton Four. There are more than four, but that's the name. We have Chad, we have Mali, we have Burkina Faso, we have Côte d'Ivoire, we have Benin. All have a vibrant cotton economy. And this is something done by smallholders, women and men. How can we help add value to their products? What can football bring? It can bring advocacy and promotion, but remember, all those jerseys and things that are manufactured by all the people, what are they made of? And how can we link this to add value to the products? So these kinds of ideas began to come together, and when we started talking about it on our teams, it really matured into we can have a partnership here that can be beneficial to these countries.
And one other aspect of this MOU focuses on gender. And through the years, there haven't been as many opportunities, or certainly as many lucrative opportunities for women in the women's game. How do you, along with FIFA, plan to address that? How can you change the dynamic around the women's game and help to achieve some of the goals that you have at the WTO?
Well, I'm sure Gianni will speak from the sports end. But from the women's empowerment end, it's a bit the same thinking. There are women in developing countries who are playing this game. They also, can be part of the trade. They often do not get the same support and sponsorship and services. Is there any way from the trade angle we can help enhance their participation and work back to see what we can do with women as well, to improve their living standards, empowerment of women in the sport? So that's part of what we're going to look at. As you know, at the WTO, we are very focused on women in trade. And we have a group of members, 123 of them, who have been working very hard on issues of women in trade. And how can we use instruments to empower women, improve their livelihoods? Most of them are involved in small and medium enterprises. How do we uplift what they're doing? So this is a natural sort of adjunct to that.
Gianni, if you could come in on the football side of things and perhaps give a little bit of insight into why the women's game has lagged the men's game and what the obstacles are right now to growing that part of the sport.
Let me come to the women's game in 1 second. If I may just also say a word about the Cotton 4 and part of this Memorandum of Understanding, because I think it's a very important initiative, and I'm really grateful to the Director General for having brought this up, because I was personally also not aware, and we were thinking, how can we work together? And when I speak about the economics of football, the 268 billion economy, and thinking about how much is done in Europe, and thinking about the potential around the world, if the rest of the world would do 30% of what Europe does, we are speaking about $500 billion economy, football in the world. But it's nice to speak about theory. It's more important to look into concrete examples. And here we found some concrete examples where we can link cotton industry in Africa, in countries who need it most, with the football industry, and try to come out with something concrete. So it's a very, very important project, which is the beginning of something that will make reference in the future. Speaking about women, and football, obviously I have to declare a conflict of interest here. I have 4 daughters, so I'm forced to do as much as we can for the women's game. But jokes aside, of course, and more seriously, women's football and women in football is something that is very close to our heart. I was elected FIFA president with a reform agenda, and one of the first things I did was to appoint, after 112 years of history of FIFA, a woman as general secretary. Fatma Samoura was appointed, Senegalese, was appointed in 2016. Never happened before. And okay, these are signs, these are symbols, but it's important because we cannot believe we are the #1 sport in the world and leave out 50% of the world population. We need to embrace it. And when we organized the last Women's World Cup in France 3 years ago, next one Australia, New Zealand, as I was saying before, we saw how the game is growing, technically as well. Technically. Those who start watching the women's game, they see, well, actually it's a real sport, played by real athletes, right? Entertaining, passionating, giving emotions to the people. We had 1.2 billion viewers for the last Women's World Cup. Our target is 2 billion for the next one. We had 263 million for the final that the United States won against the Netherlands. 263 million is double what the Super Bowl is doing, right? Which is, seen by many as one of the most important events. Double for the Women's World Cup final. So how do we get from these numbers to even more? By continuing to invest, by continuing to empower, by believing in it, not only with words, but also with actions, by having women's in football, in administrative functions, in management functions, but also women playing football in Muslim countries. Saudi Arabia has a women's team, Sudan has a women's league. Women attend football games now in Iran, which was not possible until a couple of years ago or a couple of months ago. So we have to move and keep moving our agenda forward, and we want this half of the world population to be integral part, of course, of football.
Thinking about growth of the sport, both men's and women's football, one country comes to mind, a major one, India. More than 1 billion people there. Football is not the main sport. And reports suggest you will be traveling to India potentially soon.
Yeah.
I wonder what your view is there around the potential for football to take hold in a bigger way, and whether there's appetite within India to put more effort behind growing the sport.
India is a very important country. We have our Under-17 Women's World Cup played in India, and I will be there at the end of October. So the women empowerment part is very important in India, and football helps in this respect. When it comes to the football part as well, India is a huge country. Cricket is the #1 sport at the moment in India, generating something like $6 billion a year, US dollars. Football is generating virtually nothing, or a few millions. But the young Indians, 14 to 18 years old, they all watch football. They don't watch cricket. Now, what do they watch? They watch English football, mainly, or European football, which is fantastic for the English and for the Europeans. We want to develop football in India as well. And that's why we have some ideas and some projects to heavily invest in India to create, together with the All India Football Federation, with the government, with the WTO as well, some ventures in India to really promote the game, because that's what the young people love. And that's also the difference between FIFA and I don't know, a league who generates maybe even more revenues than FIFA, the English, the German, the French, but their revenues are reinvested in their local game. The only organization which reinvests its revenues globally, in India, in Bangladesh, in Sri Lanka, in Chad, in Benin, everywhere in the world, is FIFA. And that's why we need to have more events in which FIFA is part in order to develop really the game all over the world.
Dr. Ngozi, could you share with us why now for building out this relationship with the football community?
Well, I said things are not business as usual, and that we have to be thinking out of the box. And when you start casting your mind to thinking out of the box and thinking of ways and means in which you can bring poorer countries, developing countries into global value chains, that's really a mission that I feel we have at the WTO. And there's a unique opportunity, because now the pandemic and the war has shown us what it means to have very concentrated value chains in certain products or certain sectors. But that has brought the thinking that perhaps the world, to build resilience, needs to diversify. And as I said at an earlier session, in my thinking, I see a big opportunity to use this as a means of re-globalizing the world. People are talking of deglobalization. They're talking of decoupling. They're talking of fragmentation. I want us to think otherwise, to think of how do we bring the world together? How do we use the opportunities now to say, okay, countries that have been left behind and poor people within rich countries, how do we bring them into the mainstream? So it's that opportunity now of thinking out of the box, of trying to convince global value chains that, look, it's not only about reshoring in rich countries or friendshoring in countries that are considered to have the same values, but also look at developing countries. If they have the right environment, why can't you also locate your businesses there? So that kind of thinking brought this. What about the football value chain? What is it doing in these countries beyond the sport, which is wonderful and which generates jobs? Is there much more we can get the football value chain to do in developing countries? That's what led to this thinking. So it's part of the out of the box. And when we started to think about it with our teams, we saw, yes, there's potential. Can you imagine if we can take in these poor countries, Sahelian countries that are really, so many households are dependent on this. If we can link them to these sports value chains and use this product, or better still, even add value to it, produce within those countries, what that could mean. Could create so many jobs, so much income, lift up women, lift up young people.
Sounds like brilliant logic, and really looking forward to seeing how the relationship evolves and what you can do. We're now just a few weeks away from the World Cup, and you talked about how football is an opportunity to bring people together from all over the world. The World Cup garners incredible viewership, incredible engagement. Gianni, I want to come to you because there was a lot of controversy around the bidding process for the 2018, 2022 World Cups, and FIFA has faced criticism, which you all will know, for ultimately choosing Qatar. It's a hot place. There are a number of reasons why this was a controversial choice in many people's eyes. Are you concerned at all that this could overshadow the World Cup for what it is from a football perspective?
I believe in the power of football and the World Cup to unite people, to bring people together, as Ngozi was saying. I believe in the transformation that football can bring, and thanks to the spotlights of football as well, many things have changed in Qatar. For example, in terms of workers' rights, of human rights. Things have still to change, but a process has started, and people are much better now than how they were before, right? So it has already brought positive change. And uniting now the world, also after a pandemic where we were all locked down, we were all isolated, bringing again the people from the entire world together, giving excuses or reasons for people to meet, to join, is something that I think is very important in our world, in a world which gets more and more aggressive and more divided. We need reasons to bring people together, and as long as we can contribute in FIFA through football to break some barriers or to build some bridges and to bring people together, well, I'm happy to take all the criticism of everyone for everything. Doesn't matter as long as we can have a little concrete and real positive impact.
Dr. Ngozi, let me put a related question to you. I wonder if the impact of all the controversies surrounding the choice for Qatar to host the World Cup, does controversy like this make a relationship with FIFA even more important or harder to sustain? How do you think about that?
Well, first of all, Qatar is a member of the WTO, one of our members that is very active, not just about football, but in trade and in digital issues. They're very active. So this is, as I said, a member. But more importantly to me is saying, what is this relationship about? If there's a way that we can use the football value chain to try and benefit the lives of poor people around the world beyond what is being done now, I'll seize it. I'm not saying I'll seize it with everybody and anybody, but I think those controversies have been talked about, and no one has shut down the World Cup and said it's not going to take place. Everybody seems to be heading there. So I think, yes, there maybe have been controversies, and we are not shying away from that. But I think the balance of thinking is, if we are going to have the whole world going to this place for this World Cup, no matter the controversies, and we have a chance to make this whole thing benefit poor countries through trade, we will take it. So it's a considered decision. It was not something that we just casually walked into. We were aware of these issues. But I think the upside risk is very good.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end the conversation
Oh,
on.
really? Already?
It flew by. Thank you so much for the time. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully you have as well. Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, of course, and Gianni Infantino of FIFA. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.